Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another day of 30 NSG. On today's Tuesday edition, we're going to be talking about what Battlefield 6 could take from Battlefield 5. We're going to be talking about Game Pass to make $8 billion revenue by 2030, Microsoft hopes. We're going to be talking about PlayStation boss says story-driven games will remain the bedrock of Sony's first-party title. So those are the three main topics we'll be talking about today. If you guys like what we do here, we read the news Monday through Thursday from 10 o'clock in the morning until about noon Eastern time. Chat is 100% part of the conversation. And that's it. If you like it, make sure you hit that like button. We're approaching in on that 2,000 subscriber mark over here on YouTube on this new channel. That's almost a year old. I think we started it in October, so it's right at that point. So when we started making content for this channel. If you'd like to go above and beyond that, hit that subscribe button if you're not subscribed already. And if you'd like to go above and beyond that, you become a member for as little as $5, which helps us out. Good morning, Jesse. Good morning, Fate Walker. What's going on, man? Morning, Dave Rose. Water. Good morning. Good morning. Jesse says, just reminder, earlier this morning, big news of Sony being hacked again. If you're a PlayStation user, please be careful with that. Yeah, if you're a Sony, it doesn't matter if you have a PlayStation 5, if you have a PlayStation 4, PlayStation 3. If you have a Sony account, Sony, not PlayStation. If you have a Sony account in anything, make sure you change your passwords or whatnot for your other ones. If you're one of those people that has the same password for everything, you might want to change your password just in case. So, Roger says, what's up, all? Spider-Man 2 day yet? Nope, it's not. Yeah, Jim Ryan just said that they will be doubling down on the first-party third-person single-player games coming out. We'll see. I mean, doubling down, making 10 live service games, 10 or 12 live service games in 3 years, plus doing your normal games. Be interesting. So let's go to the first story. First story we want to talk about today is what should Battlefield 6 take from Battlefield 5, right? So there's a lot of I talked about how Battlefield basically lost its identity, so much so that they lost their identity so much they kind of just changed the whole format of what Battlefield 2042 is. It says, in recent news, it was revealed that more teams are joining EA Entertainment to work on the next generation of Battlefield. I've been a fan, as the writer says, I've been a fan of Battlefield since the Modern Combat days. At one point, I favored the franchise over Call of Duty. Hint, Battlefield 3 is the GOAT. Now, recently, I was playing Battlefield 5 and found myself surprised about how active the community is, and they're still behind the World War II themed epic. It got me thinking, what features from Battlefield 5 should they port over to Battlefield 6, if any at all? I've long been supportive of Battlefield 5, or V for educated, and they maintain they'll also be the best titles in the series. Now, I want to say Battlefield 5 is not the best title in the series. I mean, now it could be, but it's 5 years old. So when that game came out, it was just as in bad shape as, Battlefield 2042 as right now. So what does Battlefield 6 need to have? There are many features and mechanics unique Battlefield 5 or defined for Battlefield 5 that I feel would be the right home for Battlefield 6. Not that the title is numbering has been confirmed, of course. He's like, here they are. Battle Royale. He says, let's get the controversial one out of right away. Okay. He thinks Firestorm was a fantastic addition to Battlefield 5, but it was also underappreciated by poorly utilized. It dropped in May of 2019, just months after Respawn Entertainment released Apex Legends, and around a year before Call of Duty Warzone hit the market. It was a tough time in the competition in the Battle Royale space, but Firestorm had potential, and guess who developed it? So in conjunction with EA DICE, I also joined the development effort of the next Battlefield game. Here's the thing. I don't want a Battle Royale inside. And I know I'm speaking for myself, right? I don't think Battle Royale has a place in Battlefield. I don't think it needs it. I think it's actually really bad for Battlefield to have a Battle Royale, because if you do a Battle Royale, it literally takes away from what Battlefield is. Battlefield, by its core and its nature, is not a solo try to win out of 100 people. It's a team versus team. You know what I mean? It's like Battle Royale does not need to be in any Battlefield. I don't care if it's 6, 7, 8, 10, 12. I don't care what it is. To me, Battle Royale never needs to be in a Battlefield. If you want to play a Battle Royale, go play a Battle Royale. Okay. Destruction mechanics. Okay. It says Battlefield 5's destruction mechanics were monumental, and through artillery, missiles, bombs, tanks, planes, and everything else in between, users could raise the entire map to the ground. Okay. And the entire villages would also fall under the weight of devastating explosions. Tanks could crawl through buildings, and even now, this sounds like V2 bomb buzzing over the fields with implement joy, right? So he says there was a huge step backwards in Battlefield 2042 that stripped almost every ounce of destruction from the game. It was a defining feature in Battlefield franchise, and it was last done in Battlefield 5. This is another thing, right? This is another thing where they basically completely ruined the game. They brought the dynamic explosions and everything else in the game all the way back from Bad Company, right? Bad Company 1 and Bad Company 2. I remember the whole physics engine they put inside the game, and we were like, this is amazing. And I always said they could raise the bar, and since then, they've never raised the bar again. They stopped at the bar, and now they're lowering the bar again to bring it back later and be like, oh, now we have fully destructible environment. It's like, well, you already had it in the game. So they completely ruined this part of the destruction aspect of it, where buildings are falling and crashing around you. Nothing stood. It was fantastic. Okay. Then we have the construction mechanic. Okay. This is a great thing they added in Battlefield 5 and then yet took out again in Battlefield 2042. Now, we played a game called Foxhole, which was back in like 2017 or whatever, and then they came out with this game in 2019. And I was like, oh, this is great, because in Foxhole, you would actually build barricades, you would build bunkers, you would build a whole bunch of stuff. And I was like, this is something that Battlefield should do, and they do. This is why I like Hell Let Loose. Hell Let Loose makes you build stuff and lets you build stuff, and that makes sense. It takes that next level of what Battlefield was and then raises the bar. They took it out of the game. I feel like EA is doing exactly what EA does. EA takes stuff out of the game, out of FIFA, out of the hockey, out of Madden, and then they wait like 5 years and they put it back in, and they're like, hey, look, we have a new physic. We're doing a build mechanic. And they're like, oh, that's amazing, right? Battlefield 5 had the dragging thing where someone was down and you could drag the person over, and then they took it out of the game before it even launched. So it says, with the building mechanic, construction mechanic, there's a fantastic ability written almost into the background of Battlefield 5 and gives players the opportunity to whip out the toolbox and start building defenses around the objectives. It's a neat little feature that adds extra immersion in an already immersive title. It allows players to get a little bit more strategic, and then defending the flag and the building. It's a basic thing. Players can click and hold button, lay down sandbags, dig trenches, reinforce windows, set up tank traps, also roll walls and razor wire. It also turns a simple farmhouse into a well-defended objective just for a few minutes, and I believe that's expanded upon. It would be fantastic returning to Battlefield 6. 100% agree. This is why I don't know why they took it out. Battlefield 2042 is everything wrong with Battlefield. Everything wrong with gaming in general in the industry right now. Multi-dimensional campaign. Okay, some of the best campaign, I think. One, Bad Company. Battlefield Bad Company had a great story campaign. Bad Company 2 had a great story campaign. Battlefield 1 had nice little story campaigns. They were like little segments cut out, but they were still story campaigns. Battlefield 5 was the last game with a series of have a core campaign, which was built around the typical model. Various theaters of war around the world during major conflicts. Battlefield 5 campaign was cinematic, emotional, and revealed some of the more secret stories. The Second World War, much Battlefield 1 exposed the subtones representative of World War 1. Now, when Battlefield 2042 debuted without campaigns, many millions of players believed that the game was nursing a gigantic hole front and center. This is another problem with Battlefield 2042. Not only did they charge $70, they raised the price up $10 for the normal standard edition, but they also charged $125 for a broken, buggy, unfinished, with less features, less maps, less guns, less everything, and they charge a lot more money. Battlefield 5 had stories, they had content that kept coming out, they had free content that kept coming out, there was more maps when it loaded, there was just more stuff to the game, you got more for your money, even if you paid the $60 price tag when the game came out. Another realistic theater of war. He says it wasn't just the campaign that was gritty and raw. It was the entire war itself. From map to map, players experienced a brutality and totally of a Second World War, traveling from Africa to France, from Norway to Japan in Battlefield 2042. The lack of realism was an issue in the up until the point Battlefield had more or less become synonymous with the realistic portrayal of war. Another problem I feel that Battlefield needs to go back to. I'm okay with them doing like future wars to go so far in the future. Now we have, culture that's just so shocked, or like, you can't make the Russians bad, or you can't make Germany bad. We're not those people anymore. One, it's a video game, so it's not like if they made the Russians bad in this video game, or if they made the Brazilians bad in the video game, that the Brazilians are going to be bad in real life, right? It's just a video game. But what I like about the World War I, World War II, we already know who the villain is, right? So no one can get mad, and we know the brutality of it. When you watch Saving Private Ryan, okay, and then you do the D-Day battle in Battlefield, or you do the D-Day battle in Hell Let Loose, you feel that. You know that's gruesome. That was real. That's like, whew, man, I would hate to be there, right? Type of thing. And that's what's missing from Battlefield 2042. It almost feels too arcadey. Nothing grounded in reality. Okay, so they kind of missed the ball there. It says, with the introduction of robot dogs, fantastic wingsuits, instant zip lines, and manner of futuristic technology, Battlefield 2042 for a while didn't feel like Battlefield at all. Still doesn't. If Battlefield 6 is going to succeed, I like to suggest that it would because they're rooted in realism, whether the modern combat or another revisiting of an old conflict. I couldn't have said it better myself, because I already said it better myself. Okay, this war games like this, at least Battlefield, okay, you could take Call of Duty, you could do whatever. Battlefield was awesome because it was battles inside the real world, the realism that was there. That's why people like playing Battlefield 20. That's why people like playing Battlefield, right? Battlefield 2042 is missing that. It feels like an arcade. It just feels like MAG, right? It just feels like a generic first-person shooter that you're playing that you have no connection to or whatnot. Okay, this is why we like Battlefield or Battlefront, right? Even though Star Wars is a fantasy in a galaxy far, far away, the movies showed certain battles, and then we get to live those battles. Battlefield isn't a long time ago, before we were born. None of us were in the actual battle, but we connect it because we know what it is. We know the history. We've seen things, so we connect it, and it's based in reality. Okay, or there's realism there. So it says squad soldiers and platoons. Battlefield 5 was much better for players who loved Battlefield and gave them the opportunity to form platoons and encourage better squad-based play, and saw players fill leadership roles and didn't need to rely on specialties. Okay, all with their own unique abilities like hero shooter to fill out the ranks. Okay, many of these elements also did port to Battlefield 2042 and felt like it was for like EA. They stripped out the community aspect from the series. Again, another mistake that they had in the series that they took out to resell to you later and say, hey, look, we make it better. Whatever the next Battlefield is, they're like, we're going to go back to the roots. We're going to go back to the tracks. We're going to go boots on the ground. Whatever marketing terms they tell you, they missed the ball. And hopefully they go back to where the platoons and groups and people, because, again, I make an example of Hell Let Loose. Hell Let Loose has commanders, where I really, really, really like what Hell Let Loose has done as far as the commander talks to the captains or the leaders of each group, and then those group can talk to the rest of their platoon. Really good, and I wish that Battlefield did something like this, but we'll see what happens. So yeah, there is the things that they think should come back to Battlefield. I hope Battlefield can come back to what it was, because I really, really hate what Battlefield has become, which is not Battlefield. It's just another game. Now, I understand it's a video game, but the reason Battlefield was successful in the past, Battlefield 1942, 1943, Battlefield Vietnam, right? And yes, is it successful like Call of Duty? No. But if I want to play a side-scroller, I'll go play a side-scroller. If I want to go play a first-person shooter, I'll go play a first-person shooter. If I want to go play a real-time strategy game, I'll play a real-time strategy game. I don't need my real-time strategy game to become a battle royale. I don't need my side-scroller to become an RPG. You see what I'm saying? This is a team-based, war-based, large group scale battle, And that's all I want it to be. I don't need it to be Call of Duty. I don't need it to be anything else. I just need it to be Battlefield. All right, let's go to chat, see what you guys are saying here. Good morning, Silent Warrior. What's going on, 76? Didn't you know every shooter has to have BR now? It's mandatory. Yeah, it's stupid, Rose. You know what I mean? Sarge, what's going on? Battlefield 6 needs to have new publisher under a new studio, completely game, no battle pass, no new mechanics. I'm okay if they put a battle pass, Sarge. As long as the core game, right? Like Battlefield 5 has become a really good game over time because they kept adding stuff. It's when they stop supporting it to try to make it something it's not. That's the problem. Go ahead, Kylo. Embu, Titan, good morning. They put it back as a microtransaction, right? Go on, Eclipse. Didn't Battlefield already do a battle royale and it failed? Yeah, they've tried multiple times. Now they're trying to do what like Tarkov does, you know? Come on, Robert Jones. Will EA and DICE pull it off next Battlefield? I think no. No. I think the problem is here's the when Battlefield 4 came out, it had problems. 18 months after the Battlefield 4 came out, they fixed the problems. When Battlefield 1 came out, people forget this. Battlefield 1 was actually one of the better games they've made. Okay? But when Hardline came out, in between Battlefield 4 and Battlefield 1, people started going back to play Battlefield 4. When Battlefield 1 came out, people were pushing because they didn't like Battlefield 1 because it was World War I. They were complaining about the guns. So they went back and played Battlefield 4. When Battlefield 5 came out, they went back to play Battlefield 1 because Battlefield 1 felt good because Battlefield 5, or V, was broke and buggy when it came out. Now that 2042 is out, people are going back to play 5 because Battlefield 2042 is absolute garbage, okay, when it came out. And that's EA's MO, right? Make this game bad, make the next game come out to make this game look better. And then people go play that game, and then they play this game, and then they go out to the next game, and they come back and play this game, and this looks better. This is the exact same situation of what's happening with Star Wars movies. 4, 5, and 6 came out. A lot of people didn't like 1, 2, and 3. But now 7, 8, and 9 came out, and they're like, hey, 1, 2, and 3 doesn't look that bad, right? That's what EA is trying to do. But in the culture, they don't want to they don't want to offend anybody. Yeah, it's so weird to me when you make a game and you're like, all right, we're gonna make the Chinese bad, or hell, I don't care. Like, the Chinese are bad, but so are the Americans if you're Chinese, right? The Russians are bad, but the Americans are bad too if you are Russian. So, like, I don't really get the whole like, oh, you're don't make us look bad. It's a video game. It's a video game, right? Should I get mad because in Grand Theft Auto, they make white guys all bad guys? I mean, I don't, you know what I mean? Come on, Fate Walker. I'm behind the stream, but I want to save Battlefield 5 was in no way as bad as Battlefield 2042. It was just lack content. No, Battlefield 5 was terrible when it came out. Jones? It was terrible when it came out. It was a lackluster game that they were trying to wedge an agenda in there, and they were just trying to sell you microtransactions left and right. Now, looking back on it, now you're like, oh, it's a good game. Give me a BattleBits Star Wars edition. Oh, that'd be cool. Do they have a mod yet? I bet you they would let them do a mod. How about an actual Battlefield maps from actual battlefields? Right. How hard would it be to take an actual battlefield and put it in Battlefield? I know Battlefield Hardline gets hate, but I personally really liked it for multiplayer. But that's another Hardline was another miss, Kylo. It was actually the worst selling Battlefield ever, right? Hardline. And Hardline wasn't what Battlefield is. It literally missed the bar because it's not Battlefield. It was cops and robbers. EA made Dead Space devs make Hardline, then closed it down, if I'm not wrong. Is that true? Dead Space devs made Hardline? I don't know that. I didn't know that. They have tech commander squads chat in BattleBit. Did they just add that, Fate? I don't remember that when I played it a couple months ago. Come on, Lurker. I hope they can make a cross-platform. It would be great to play on console and friends. Oh, for BattleBit, yeah. Yeah. I played BattleBit about 4 weeks ago. That was the last time I played it. I played it when I was on vacation. And you could run that thing on anything. We had a really crappy laptop computer. I played it when I was on vacation. Jesse Max says, 30, what do you think of the new Battlefield game being set in World War II or modern times or modern than 2042? I know people are like, I'm tired of World War games. I'm tired of World War II. World War II is such a good time frame to put it in. I mean, sure, I guess you could put it in like the Iraqi War or Desert Storm, or you could pick Vietnam, but World War II is such a good time. Hell, I would be okay with this. Are you ready for this? Are you ready for your mind to be blown? What if they did, right? Not that it made any sense, but it's a video game, right? Instead of doing a 2042, why don't they make a Battlefield, World War II game, but based in a different reality? Do you know what I mean? It's like multiverse type of stuff where it's still World War II, but it's different. So it's still older, but yet newer. So maybe you could do a little bit of like steampunk type of stuff added to it. Who knows? You know what I mean? But keep it based in so you're storming the beach of Normandy, but it's a different what's it called? It's a different timeline. Who knows? What I like about World War II is that there's realism there, and then there's stuff on top of it, right? What about if they did a story content where scientists were working on a time machine, and all of a sudden you get it screwed up the world, and it shrunk us back into the past of World War II, but now it's an alternate universe, and we have not modern day weapons, no laser guns or anything like that, but everything looks just kind of, janky type of stuff, right? That could be pretty cool. Oh, it's always been there, but it requires you to be squad leader. See, I've never been squad leader there. Titan says, after Vanguard, I feel a lot of people don't like World War setting as modern setting. But the problem with the modern setting, right, Titan, is that people get offended. That's the problem. Come on, Viking. I got some stuff going on today, but just came by to drop a thumbs. Still alive. Come on, Viking. Good to see you, man. Didn't they already do a World War II game? They've always do World War II games. World War II games are constant, always coming out. Hell, I say you do more World War II now, because in schools they don't even teach about history anymore. They don't even teach about wars. At Captain America and Wolverine, since they're already in the wars. Now you're talking, Water. Now you're talking. There's so many battles. There's so many things inside World War II, different things that could have happened. Hell, what about if you did a war? What about if you did an alternate universe where Germany won? Right? What about that? What about if you do a time period where Germany won, and now Germany is in charge of the world, right? And now we're fighting them back. Why don't they do something like that, where it still takes place in the older days, but it's also kind of modern day up? I don't remember it being buggy. I remember microtransactions I didn't like, the people being upset about the non-historical cosmetics. Well, that's one of the problems, right? That was one of the problems. It's sort of like the scenario I'm saying right now, Jones, right? I'm saying take something but make it into, like, they just said there's like robotic arms and people inside of World War II. And people were like, that doesn't make any sense. This is a World War II game. If they just did something and said, like, this takes place in an alternate universe in World War II, people would have been fine with it. But they're like, this takes place in World War II, and here's a person with a robotic arm. And it's like, hold up a second. They're like, wait a minute. There wasn't women in the battle. They're like, Well, actually, there was, right? It's like a small 1% group that were snipers. Yeah, I like Modern Combat, not into World War II. But do you play the Modern Combats now, boss? Right? There's more modern games than there is World War II games. I know that sounds ridiculous because you have like Medal of Honor, you have the old Call of Duties, you have the old Battlefields, you have Hell Let Loose, you have 1944, right? If you do World War II, put it on the Eastern Front, make the Russians the food guys. Yeah, or the good guys, the food guys. The good guys. I was like the food guys. What are they? The Guy Fieri's of World War II. A World War II, like what if? Yeah, you know what I mean? Like if you're gonna change it up, just give us a story of why it's the way it is. I truly believe if Battlefield 5 came out and said this takes place in an alternate universe in World War II, what if this happened, right? People would be like, oh, this is pretty cool. No, they're like, this is authentic World War II. And they're like, wait a minute. That didn't happen. I say we don't do wars and make Battlefield a Foam Star Splatoon type game. Yeah, that's what we need. Not since Battlefield 2042. I just want a good gimme Battlefield finish and make it like Battlefield 4 or 3, and I'm happy. I mean, there's Call of Duty out there. You could play Modern Warfare right now in Call of Duty. Bro, I played the Party Animals last night with some buddies. I was having so much fun. I played it with my son. I played it with my son the other day. I played the board where you're on a submarine, and yeah, and I didn't understand it. I didn't understand it. I was on the submarine, all right, Kylo, and I was climbing up to the top, and as I'm at the top, I thought I was about to win, and a fish came out and smacked me off the thing, and I was like, "What the heck?" My son started crying. He was laughing so hard because I got so upset. I got so upset because I thought I was gonna win the game. Okay, I know this has nothing to do with the topic, but I was about to win the game, and I got smacked off the top of the submarine with a fish, and I just started. I was like, what the? And my son just started laughing his ass off and crying. If you guys don't know what I'm talking about, you didn't play Party Animals yet. Jesse Max says 30. Bring in 4 times lines of Battlefield game, Bad Company, World War II, Modern at the main menu for the next Battlefield game. Great for players who want to play different timelines in one whole game. Bring in 4 timelines for Battlefield. Well, technically, right now, Battlefield 2042 has the best thing in the game, which is called Portal. You can take Portal and you can do whatever you want inside Portal, right? And I actually like Portal inside of Battlefield 2042. But again, they still missed the ball on 2042. I think Battlefield can be a good series if that once they finish them. Right. Just complete the game and then put it out. Has anyone made a good paintball shooter? I mean, I guess the closest paintball-esque would be Splatoon. No, I don't think anyone's made a good paintball. It's like, why makes paintball, though, Lurker? That's what we do. That's what you do, Lurker. You make Battlefield 2052 paintball simulator. That's what you do. Yeah. From the makers of Battlefield 2042, we have Battlefield Paintball. It's you and the Russians and the Koreans all battling it out in one arena. Paintball 2053. The football one, Black Hole, were the favorite game modes. I didn't play the football one. I don't know what that one is. Yep, I literally, after I got smacked off the thing, it was like third game in on the submarine. As soon as I got knocked off with the fish, I was like, I'm done. I was like, I'm done. And my son's like, he was just laughing. He was laughing so hard. I kind of play it up for my son because he likes when I do stuff like that. Oh, real quick, so people don't get confused that I'm talking about, right? So last night we're at dinner. My son's watching a video on YouTube about someone telling us about the combinations of things to use in Mario Kart, like what character to what vehicle with what wheels. And I'm like, is this really work? And my son's like, yeah, it does. I was like, I don't need combos. I was like, just give me Mario and the regular car and I'll beat you. He goes, challenge accepted. And I was like, what? And my wife's eating and she goes, oh, you're in trouble. I'm like, what? I was like, I'm awesome at Mario Kart. She's like, no. She's like, you're gonna lose. I was like, my son started talking crap. I was like, are you talking? He's like, you're gonna lose, Dad. My wife's like, yep, you're gonna lose. I was like, there's no way I'm gonna lose. So he challenged me to Mario Kart. Okay. He's picking his thing and picking the stuff. And I picked Mario and the motorcycle. I don't even know what motorcycle it was. Okay. I haven't played the new maps or whatever. I didn't care. I was like, I'm going in. Okay. First race, my son gets first place. And he's like, I told you I was going to win. I got third. Second race, he got first place. I got seventh. Third race, I got second. Moral of the story is, my son is 9 years old, talked shit to his dad, okay, and he whooped my ass in Mario Kart. So that's a lesson right there. All right, now I got to practice because I'm not losing to my 9-year-old son again in Mario Kart. That's right, Water. I did lose. Kyle Green says Battlefield is such a bad state they might have to remaster, remake 3 or 4 just to have a little bit. Oh, hold on a second. Someone's at my door. Give me 1 second. All right. Remaster, remake 3 or 4 just to have a bit of success and confidence before making a new one. Battlefield Go, AR Paintball, Battlefield Simulator, play the real weather, and paint the town. Just make Battlefield G.I. Joe. That's what Sarge says forever. I worked at a tech company in the 90s where 2 groups hated each other, and the managers thought paintball would be a good team of building event. There were 14 total missed days from injuries. That reminds me of a story lurker. So we had so my bachelor party, we didn't go to like a strip club or anything like that, right? My bachelor party when I got married years ago, 13 years ago, we went to a high-speed go-kart where they were going like 50, 60 miles an hour. You got to wear like a neck brace and a helmet, and you're like, it was awesome. We went to a laser tag, like it looks like a battle zone. Okay, we went to I forget what else we did, but we went to a laser, and some of my buddies, they thought they were like in the military, and they were gonna like, you know, pretend they were like an action hero star, and there was like. They had these like boxes and stuff that were like, you know, so you could hide behind. And my best friend decided that he was going to do a Dukes of Hazzard. Like he ran and then went to slide on top of one of the boxes, but the boxes is not, they're just boxes. They're not meant to be like climbed on or anything like that. And he ran full speed, and he like did the hand plant like you do when you know, in like in any video game or whatnot. And he fucking just destroyed the box. We all lost that round because we were laughing so hard. Because there's something happens when you take a paintball gun or a laser tag gun. When you put a gun in a guy's hands and you're in competition with each other, you throw all like everything out the window. Safety, you're sliding, you get rug burns, you'll dive into a wall, through a window, sliding across boxes. It was hilarious. Yeah, the injuries. You're like, how'd you break your arm? Oh, I was playing laser tag. It's like, what? How'd you break your arm in laser tag? You know what we'll be playing this weekend? Oh no, I'm playing it before my son gets home. I'm gonna put a regimen in of a couple. He actually wants to race today, right? He beat me so bad yesterday. He's like, today, he's like, when I get home from school, I'm done with my homework. We're gonna race 1-on-1, and I'm gonna show you. He's trying to train me so I become better. But I'm gonna play before he gets home because that's just who I am. You're so like, how many times do I need to teach you a lesson? Yeah. Right. If my kids ever beat me in Mario Kart, I'll just congratulate them, be proud, or maybe I go best out of 3. Oh no, I was happy. I was like congratulations. I was like good job. But I can't let him beat me. I can't let him beat me. That's not who I am. The Padawan has become the Jedi Master. Got lucky. He plays all the time. I don't play it. All the guys get it. No, did you break your arm? Laser tag. But did you win? Exactly. That's exactly right. Damn, he's scheduling your daily Mario Kart beatdown. Yeah, he'll probably beat me again today. It was just so funny. The whole scenario that was happening. Like, we were watching the video. I go, is that Rhea? And then my son starts talking trash. And then I was like, I'll beat you. And then my wife was just eating, and then she just stopped. She looks at me and was like, you're gonna lose. I was like, she plays with them all the time. She plays with them all the time. He's like, I'm so good. He's like, I'm good, Dad. I'm like, all right, we'll see. We'll see how good you are. He whooped my ass. The one time, first of all, I can't play on the Switch. He gives me that little goddamn controller, right? And you're like this, and you're cramping up. I gotta like hold my other finger to brace myself to play. I can't play that little thing. I was like, give me a controller. I was like, can I have a controller? And I sound like my father now. Oh, it's like my hands. Like my hands just can't move around the stuff. I can't use the little stick of gum. I can't use it. I need the Nintendo Switch Pro controller. Oh, I didn't say anything out loud. Just in my head. Water. Just in my head. I didn't say it out loud. I just grabbed the controller, but in my head I was like, what the fuck is this thing? This little piece of shit thing is in my hand. No, out loud I was like, oh, yeah, okay. Oh, and then I didn't know that the Switch, he had the Sense controller on. So I'm sitting on the couch and I have it sideways, right? Sideways, and I'm playing, I'm just relaxing in the chair and I have it sideways. And I'm like, why is my vehicles going to the right? And I say it out loud, and he goes, oh, and he pauses it and goes, oh, but this was like race 3 of 4. Okay? I totally forgot the sensor was on, and then you could do this to turn. And I was just like, oh, for God's sakes. So Red Dead Redemption 2, Nintendo Switch might be real. I mean, as long as it has better graphics than Mortal Kombat, I think you're okay. Baitwalker says, poor Payday 3 devs. I hope next maintenance fixes this is for them on Friday. We have a story at the end if we get through all these other 2 stories. I don't like the gyroscope stuff. I mean, it's okay if you're if you knew it was on. I don't play Switch that often, so I didn't know you could turn it off and on. Or I should say, I don't play Mario Kart that often. The flip book is better than graphics on Mortal Kombat. Well, you can get that controller. We have that other controller where you take the 2 Joy-Cons and put them in. If I'm holding just a regular controller, that's better. I can't hold on to the Joy-Con. They're so tiny. All right, so Battlefield 6. You know, I hope that they go back to. I hope they go back to a war that an older war. Let's go like Roman times. No, I'm kidding. I hope they go back to World War II. There's just so much content in that World War II setting. I kind of wish they just made Battlefield 5 again, right? And I don't mean exactly Battlefield 5 again. What I'm saying is where Battlefield 5 was supposed to keep updating and keep dropping stuff because there's so much war, so many battles that happened during that time frame that you could just keep going. But we'll see. We'll see what happens with Battlefield. Let's go to the next story. The next story is Game Pass to make $8 billion revenue by 2030, Microsoft hopes. Microsoft hopes to grow Xbox Game Pass into a must-have subscription that dominates the video game market with $8 billion revenue earned by 2030. Okay, this comes from Tweaktown. Okay. It says new leaks from the Microsoft revealed ambitious plans for the $16 billion game division. The tech giant not only wants to make Xbox the top gaming console on the market, but it also wants to radically transform Xbox Game Pass into leading revenue-dominant gaming subscription available today. I have a question. I don't remember them ever saying not only wants to make Xbox the top gaming console on the market. I don't remember them ever saying that they want the console to be top of the market. I'm pretty sure they were. Like, how would they make it? That I think that's a false written statement there. Because they literally said they don't care about console sales. So I don't know if they've inserted this or they said that in their own thing. Now, Game Pass, they want to be number 1. Okay, but I don't know if this guy took it and said it himself. Probably. I don't remember them saying it. Anyway. Microsoft estimates that the Xbox could be worth $36 billion by 2030, driven primarily by game sales, microtransactions, and purchases made on console, PC, and the cloud. In fact, Microsoft expects Xbox to make $16.9 billion from transactions by 2030, which is more than the total amount of Xbox makes today. Okay, so you can look at this chart here, our path to leadership in gaming. Okay, it says advertising. 1.4 billion, right now in 2022, advertising is 0.1 billion. Okay, mobile transactions seems to non-existent. Okay, subscriptions is 3.9 billion. Transactions and other console, PC, cloud is 10 billion, and then hardware console is 3.8 billion. Okay. I mean, that right there tells you they don't really care about the console hardware, right? Now you go to 2030, they think that their advertising is going to be 1.4 billion. Mobile transactions are going to be 2.6 billion. Subscriptions is 7.8 billion. Okay, 7.8 billion. So that is, let's look at that for a second. Because we know right now there's 25 million and they make 400. So if you double that, so technically the 7.8 billion is only around 65 to 70 million people by 2030 by this projection. Right? Because right now they make about 4 billion, 4.8 billion. So that's only going up in the next 6 years. It's going up 3 billion, right? 3 billion. And then transactions and others console is 16.9 billion. And then hardware is 7 billion evenly. Okay. So we'll see how that works out for them. What just happened? There we go. No, I don't want this. This is not what I wanted. There we go. So according to the leaked slides, Microsoft expects to make 7.8 billion from subscriptions by 2030. To put that in perspective, Microsoft reports that it made 3.9 billion from subscriptions in 2022, including both Game Pass and Xbox Live, the former of which the lower margins and latter of which has a higher margins. Within 6 years' time, Microsoft expects to efficiently double subscription services revenues, double the subscription revenues. Either they're raising the price or they're going to go from 25, 30 to 60, right? So 60 or 70. Subscriptions will also play a big part of the growth thanks to recruiting revenue streams. Microsoft will use its acquisition of Activision Blizzard King to accelerate the 2030 strategy principle through the tremendous values of games like Call of Duty, Overwatch, Diablo, and can add to Game Pass. Another big part of the achieving this 36 billion target is Microsoft Universal Store concept, where Xbox gaming could effectively bridge console, PC, mobiles, and any other devices in between. Another interesting note about the 2030 chart is Microsoft boosted advertising revenue. We know that Microsoft plans to add advertisement to mobile and PC games. Following the Activision Blizzard acquisition, it's likely that these ads will be almost entirely for mobile and free-to-play games on PC games. However, it's possible that eventually Microsoft could use a combination of King's ad platform and its own Xandr ad tech to create a advertisement delivering infrastructure that connects to all endpoints of Microsoft Universal Store. Microsoft made around 100 million from ads on Xbox in the fiscal year of 2022. By 2030, that value should be around 1.4 billion. That's 14 times the increase in 6 years. Time and most is not all growth should be attributed to Activision Blizzard King's mighty empire. So hardware also expected to jump from 3.8 billion to 7 billion. That's a surprising jump, especially considering Microsoft has said it did not include console segment growth in Activision Blizzard acquisition proposal. So there you go. I don't know. I mean, that's a big thing, man. 8 billion. 8 billion that they want to hit. 8 billion revenue by 2030. I mean, they are putting all their stuff in not one basket, but sort of like one basket, right? They're putting all their money into Game Pass, but that Game Pass is across PC, mobile, console, television sets, and in my eyes, the little dongle that'll plug into whatever, right? Because they want that console that's under $100. I think if they can get the console, and a lot of people don't agree with me, which is fine. I'll be right when it happens, and everyone else will be like, "Oh, it's not a big deal." They'll just shrug it off. But if they can get a box, a dongle, something, a Fire Stick, a Google Chromecast, if they can get the console down to that, okay, and it's cloud game-based gaming, stuff like that. Even if someone buys a PlayStation, they'll buy an Xbox stick. They'll be like, oh, yeah, I'll try it out. And then they get that $10. See, the difference is they'll get that $10, $15 from people if they buy a complete console. If they buy a television set, if they're playing off a mobile phone, it doesn't really matter at that point anymore, right? They could potentially get that 4 months out of somebody just to play on the mobile phone or just to play on the television set or just to play. They don't have to spend the money to make the actual consoles. The 20% of the population that will buy the consoles, that will still get the 10, 15, 20 million units of consoles out there to buy, they'll still make the money off those people. But on top of that, right, then they get the subscription model. And more people will look at it and go, wait a minute, you're telling me I can get 400 games. I don't even have to buy a console anymore. I don't even have to buy a $300 console. I could buy a $100 dongle, or I can play it off my television set without spending any existing stuff and then just provide the service. All right, throwing numbers out there. Let me see what you guys are saying here, which was made. I hope they do polished releases. Fuck, if it just add DLC to older titles. Just throwing numbers out there. I don't know if they're throwing numbers out of their asses. I mean, if you look at this again, I mean, obviously this is not written in gold, right? They're showing you what this is real and this is real, and based on what this to this did, they're looking at the same percentage, probably. I'm assuming it goes from this to this based on the projections of where the market's going and what people are playing or how people are getting their content. They're moving away from console market. I'm just reading the news, and they said that they want to be number one in consoles. They're failing miserably. I don't know where that is, boss. Like, I don't remember them saying that out of their mouths. Where he says it here, right? They want to be the top gaming console on the market. But at the bottom of his statement here, it literally says that they are not trying to sell consoles. So his own articles, it's contradicted to himself because that's not what they've said. They're trying to sell Game Pass. These are facts. When was the article written? Xbox valuation of $36 billion after they spent $7 billion on Bethesda and $69 billion on Activision Blizzard. That sounds off. It was written on September 24th. $39.99 a month. I don't know if it'll go that high. Style Warrior says, I imagine they offer one extra move or try in Candy Crush if you sign up for Game Pass Ultimate. Wonder how many people would sign up for it. It's interesting you say that, Silent, right? Like, I know you're joking, but at the same time, it's like they could literally try anything. They're like, hey, sign up for anything and get 1 free month of Game Pass. You know what I mean? So basically a smaller version of the Xbox Series S, because basically, what is it now? Well, the problem is that their servers, like, you could play Starfield on the Xbox One right now, but it's coming through a Xbox Series S Blade server, right? Until they upgrade their servers, Water, to the higher tiers thing, you're gonna be playing on the S. Why do you keep saying 4 months? I keep saying 4 months, Sarge, because to get their money out of somebody, they have to stay on there for about 4 months to 4.5. It's like 4 months, 4 months and 2 weeks to make their money off that person, off a game. If they came on the program, is buying one game. If they get it at the $15 ultimate price, right? I'm doing the average, right? Some people might stay on longer, some people might stay on less, but the average person needs to stay on for about 4.5 months. 76 because xCloud is still in beta and internet is up to spec, wide variety of everything. Kyle says, man, if Xbox stops making actual hardware and just makes a streaming box, I'd be one upset 15-year customer. All the time I wasted on Xbox platform. Well, there would still be a console if you wanted. They're not getting rid of it. I've said this in the past, Kylo. You could still go buy a record player, right? You can still go buy things that you want to go buy. It's just not going to be the predominant majority of the industry anymore. All Him Out challenge him to debate on channel. What are you talking about, boss? If it goes to $40 a month, I'm out. Yeah, I'm out at 25. Xbox has never said that. At least that I can remember. If they want to be number one in the industry, but they know they don't have to sell consoles to get there, I've never seen them say they want to be number one in consoles. I've never seen that. If you guys could pull up an article and show me, they literally said that they want Game Pass. That's the number one thing they're trying to do. Xbox has never said that. I already said that. $29.95 a month. Less than $1 a day. 30 or 40 a month would not make it the best value in gaming anymore. I'd be out. Wouldn't it though? 30, 40 bucks a month. That's still, I mean, it all depends on how many games are on there and what games are on there, right? Understand that that's $480 a year if you're going on the $40, right? And then if you're going for the $30, it's $360. But at the same time, it's like that's still a good deal. Not for the majority of people, but that's still a good value. Right? Now, obviously, Kyle, I know you're saying that not you would be out. And I agree. I wouldn't go more than 25 myself. Okay? Because at that point, my time compared to what I could play, it wouldn't be worth it. But right now, right? What do we pay? We pay, was it $16 now? Or was it $17 now? Right? It's $204 now. $204 now. That's 3 games. It's 3 games. Now, if those 3 games that you're playing are the only 3 games you're playing for the year, I've played a lot more than 3 games this year off Game Pass. The internet in my area is still less than 10 years away from being able to support streaming games. Yeah, but they don't need the do you know how many people, like, I know it sounds terrible, but in America, we're behind times in the internet. There's a lot more people that have better internet than us. Right? And it's not that the technology is not there. It's that the infrastructure of laying the stuff down and getting it to the neighborhoods and stuff is what's the slow part. Right? It's not like it's not that the actual internet is bad. The internet's good. We just don't have the infrastructure of actually getting it to people's areas. Out of the games of Game Pass, may play a handful of games. I just wouldn't be worth it for me anymore at that price. Right, but you also have to look at this, right? A lot of games that are on Game Pass, even PlayStation Plus, are older games that you and me and a lot of older gamers have either owned in the past, okay? Okay? And already either own, played, rented, something along the lines, and now they're on that service, right? Because we are at that point in life where we already experienced it, and now they're changing the format of what it is. So going forward, your son, your daughter, okay, that never played those games now has an opportunity to play those games again, or they get to play it for the first time, and now there's a huge, giant catalog that's building up that you've already played, I've already played. But for those people, they're like, oh, I'm paying this amount of money, 400 games on the service, whatever service that is, if it's PlayStation Plus or Game Pass. And then on top of that, now you're getting the new games, right? This is why the new games are so big for Xbox to get day and date. Because not only can they get you in on the Starfield or the Motorsports or the Fable or whatever else comes down the line, that's first party. Now when they have the third party games come out, let's say they do get, what's it called? Suicide Squads. Or they do get, what's another big game that's coming out? What's another big game? Let's just say Outlaws, Star Wars Outlaws comes on the Game Pass. I'm not saying it is. I'm just naming a game, right? They need that to keep coming to the platform so people are like, oh, well, why am I going to buy it for $70 when I can just get Game Pass for $10 or $12 or $17, whatever it is? It's hard for us to look at it and go, it's not what I want. I want to own my games. I want to own the stuff. I don't want to play on a small screen. I don't want to play on the thing. But yet, your children have been, conditioned their entire life for a small screen, of a tablet, of a cell phone, of playing mobile devices, to playing online. It's a completely different beast. YouTube Lurker says, I can imagine the future where Sony dominates here because they sell boxes, but Xbox dominates Europe because they have better infrastructure for streaming. Potentially. Now, I think Europe, though, is like, I forget, I don't know the exact number. I think it's like 30%, right? It's the second largest market for Xbox, or close to it, something like that. Microsoft isn't going to let consumers be locked out of Game Pass. They have two console options, PC, cloud, and they're trying to get more devices. They're making consoles until cloud adoption is massive. Sure, I don't think, like I said, I've said this in the past, Chris, I don't think they will get rid of consoles. Okay, I mean, obviously, even with the leaked documents and them talking about the next generation of consoles, and they're just going to be, no disk drive, I guarantee you they'll sell a separate disk drive, right? So if you just buy the console, it'll be a console, but they'll sell you the separate. Sony's doing it. Why wouldn't anybody else, right? They'll sell you the separate disk drive, so you can still put discs in if you want to own the disc, right? There's still that small, minute population that still want to collect the games or have the physical discs or whatnot, but they're not going to get rid of the consoles. Consoles are still going to be there. I mean, technically, even if they made it a dongle, that is still considered a console. They're still selling you hardware, even though there's no moving parts in it. Baba says, would dominate in Asia, and that's where the internet and thus the best fits people's use of phones and everything. Hence why they went big in the Tokyo Game Show, right? It's exactly why they went big in the Tokyo Game Show. They had so many advertisements during the show that I watched about Game Pass on PC, because it's a huge mobile and huge PC market. All right, let's go to the third story. We had a story yesterday talking about PlayStation with their, I don't know if it was a story, but we actually had a conversation about how they're going all live service, big on the live service by 2026. So Jim Ryan comes out and says, PlayStation boss says story-driven games will remain the bedrock of Sony's first party. Okay, single-player, graphically beautiful, narrative-rich games will continue to be bedrock of the first-party publishing business, says Jim Ryan. So Sony has continued to aggressively expand the efforts of live service space in recent years, and with the likes of the Concord and the Fair Game, the company has also started to reveal some of the live service titles it currently has in the pipeline. And while some of those have been concerned, it also means a reduced emphasis on the narrative-driven experience that PlayStation's first party has become synonymous with. Now, Sony Interactive Entertainment CEO Jim Ryan has said that this is not the case. His quotes come from a Q&A session an analyst from 2022 that has leaked as part of the recent Microsoft court document leaks. When asked if Sony plans to double its revenue from the first-party game relies entirely on the company's 10 live service titles due out before April 2026, that was increased to 12 releases in the same period. Since a particular Q&A session, Ryan said that Sony doesn't expect all those releases to be successful. That's realistic. And while whether or not they'll be viewed as successful will also be vary from case to case. We want on to add to the company that will also continue to publish the narrative-rich titles that also become known for which, according to him, will remain a bedrock of PlayStation's first-party efforts. Now, quote, it would also be naive for us to assume that all 10 will be a massive success, so this is not a necessary condition for us to double first-party revenues. It would be conditioned for us to double first-party revenues, Ryan said. He says also that's certainly not what we're assuming. Clearly, the distinction between a hit and a non-hit is not a binary one. And don't forget that we do this, and we also continue to publish games that have served us for well over the years. These single-player, graphically beautiful, narrative-rich games will continue to be the bedrock of our first-party publishing business. Of course, this isn't the first time that PlayStation's leadership has made such a statement. Back in March last year, PlayStation Studios said Herman Hulse said that Sony Studios will always carry on making single-player narrative-based games. Meanwhile, during the Q&A, analyst Ryan also said that he and publishers in the industry view Game Pass as a value destructive. So here's the thing that obviously that's realistic, right? He's saying that, and I've said this, and I always compare the video game industry to the movie industry, okay, to the entertainment industry. I say games companies are like publishers are just like Universal or Fox or Disney, where they come out with 10 games over a certain period of time, or they come out with 10 movies a certain period of time in their fiscal year or whatever it is. There's small games, there's large games, there's blockbuster games. And out of 10 films being released, 3 will make money, 7 will not make money. Okay? They lose money, but the 2 that make money either break even or feed a little bit back into those ones that lose money, and then the big giant one that makes a blockbuster hit now pays and suffices across the board, and they make their profit, right? So that's what they do. So if Ryan comes out and says, look, we're making 10 live service titles out before April 2026 and has now increased to 12 by April 2026, and he says that they're not all going to be successful, but that also is a case-by-case scenario, as he's saying. So if a game comes out, and let's say they put $20 million into a live service game, and that one comes out and it bombs, it's not really that big of a loss. But if they come out with a live service game that's got $150 million into it, and then that bombs, that's going to hurt a lot more. So if they can make good quality games, regardless of the if it's a live service game or not, if they come out with a game that's low tier as far as production wise, where it costs them less, and then that can become a hit, if they can make those microtransactions where something that costs 20 million makes let's say 200 million in profit because of microtransactions, that's a huge win. It's a much better win than if a game costs $100 million and only makes 110 million back, right? Because then that barely broke even. So I see what he's saying as far as, look, not everything's going to be successful, but at the same time, I hope them saying and them doing are two different things, because we talked about this yesterday. If they take brands, I don't think all 10, 12 releases are going to be brand new IPs. I don't see that happening. Okay. I see the live service games becoming brands that are already known. If that's Uncharted multiplayer something, if that's Horizon MMO, if that's God of War something else, if that is The Last of Us multiplayer type stuff, they got to take IPs that people know and then try to make them into a live service. Not to say that the next God of War, as we said yesterday, is coming out and going to be a live service game. I think the God of War will be a single player aspect, beautiful game, but then they're going to add something to it to try to make that extra microtransactions part of live service based in the world of God of War, or based in the world of Last of Us, or based in the world of Horizon. Just to come out with brand new IPs, that's going to be a risk. That's going to be a big risk. 12 games, brand new IPs, nobody's heard of. Be a live service game? I don't see that happening. Let's see. In Asia, only losers would have an Xbox. Well, this is why they're not promoting Xbox over there. They're promoting PC Game Pass over there, boss, because they don't want the console. What's going on, Mo? It's interesting you guys watch a small American streamer. That's right. Maybe they do have connections in the country. Connection outside is just bloody awful. Japan is very similar to the U.S. in ISP from what we've heard. South Korea, Singapore, and also more really have good internet infrastructure, which could use to put servers in the country. Well, yeah, we're behind times. I know someone put it up there earlier that we're like 11th. Asia also would love to have over a platform because of the culture normal for them. I lived there long enough. I lived there long enough to still have a lot of connections in Asia who I talk to, and I play a lot of games on there. Phones are supposed to be PC or console. Yeah, and this is why they're literally marketed. If you watch the Tokyo Game Show, they literally pushed Game Pass on PC, right? And they pushed mobile big time. Chris says, I'm totally fine with Sony shooting their shot on live service. They could knock it out of the park. I'll be interested to see them try and go with live service exclusives. You want as many installs as you can. Right. And I think it's very ambitious. It's very ambitious to have 12 live service games come out by April 2026. I mean, we're talking 3 years, 12 games. I don't think some of those games are going to be really, really small little games that they've worked on for less than 12 months, right? They announced this less than a year ago, okay? Meaning if they announced it less than a year ago, then they probably were working on it beforehand to, like, move that. Look, they saw the writing on the wall, okay? This is why it was like a stall tactic, and I'm not saying this is a bad thing, but when Microsoft announced that they were buying Activision Blizzard, and they're like, wait a minute, we could potentially lose Call of Duty, and that's a huge thing for us. They said, all right, well, what can we do? They're like, all right, what's the play? Well, let's buy Bungie so we can get our shit together. They know what about live service games. We have to push to live service games because if we're going to lose this, then we need to make up for it, and we need to put as many out there as possible to see what sticks, okay? Because, again, not all 12 of those things are going to be successful. They could be, but you have to put it's a numbers game. If I go ask somebody, out on a date and they reject me, you don't ask the same person 12 times and wear them down. You ask 12 different people and see how many yeses you get, right? That's just the way it works. So if they have 12 games, now 3 years. So let's just say, 3 games a year, right? 4 games a year, 3.5, 4 games a year. So next year, there's live service games coming out. I don't think they're going to release 10 live service games in 2025 and then 2 in 2026. I think they're going to release like 2 next year. Then they're going to release like 4 or 5 or 6 in the second year, and then the remainder in the following year. So games are going to have to be smaller. I mean, hell, is Helldivers 2 considered a live service game? Right? It's a small $40 game, and I'm asking, I don't know. Okay, is Helldivers 2 going to be that game that just comes out and you play it and that's it, it's done? Or is Helldivers 2 going to come out, they're going to release Helldivers 2, and then they're going to have a live service aspect to it? Is that considered one of the live service games? They're late to the party, but great for them to try. I don't think they're late to the party. I'm sure the high number of those live service games are assigned to Bungie to oversee. Sure, they said that. They literally said that. That's why they took Last of Us multiplayer off and made sure Bungie was like, no, you got to fix it. This is what you got to do. Sony will knock it out of the park if they don't let Bungie program stuff. Travis says, wait, you don't? I thought it was how you get the nation to just the president, so you can also just notice the ways look crap and like I can't escape. I don't know what that's referring to. What's going on, L? Yes, live service. But is it Sony First Party doing it? I don't know. If they reached out, Mo, to other companies to make the live service, if it's all first party titles, I don't know. Silent says, to be honest, I think most get canceled or delayed. If they release that many live service games at once, they will just cannibalize themselves. Right? Meaning, even if you release, let's say, 3 next year, 1 a quarter, right? Helldivers, let's say, is that first live service aspect. Okay? So Helldivers is 1. That's coming out. $40, low price point. People pick it up because it's off $40. And they'll make up that money because they'll have enough microtransactions or something in Helldivers. Again, I'm just assuming here. They'll make that money back because of the price, $30 price cut, right? It's not 70, so 40. Everyone's like, oh, that's so they'll influx people to get the game, and then they'll get people in the back end of that game if it's live service, microtransaction, or whatnot, right? And then that's sort of like the barometer. Right? If that one does well, then the ones coming out in 2025 that are still in production, they look at that and go, all right, well, this is the method that we did with this game. Let's see if it works out for the others. I would certainly temper my expectations in regards to it. I don't wish to see Sony fall or fail, though I do hope everything Bungie touches turns into shit. Yeah. It will be a live service with the concept of the first game. It's easy to slide into live service. So there you go. They'll release them, and then they'll be done in 18 months later. But as long as they make their money back, right, Dolphin? Say you want about Destiny 2, but they can refuse to abandon it. You can't refuse to abandon it. Those live service games probably be free with the PlayStation Plus Extra too. Sure. Sure, yeah, you want those games that are live service Titan to. I don't know if they put them all. I don't know if they put them all free on the PlayStation Plus program, but I can see a couple of different things, right? Like if Helldivers 2 comes out and it is a live service, that's not free, but that's $40. It's a good discount, okay? But then they take another game that comes out, and then they put it on the PlayStation Plus. They're like, hey, day and date, here you go, right? But according to PlayStation, right? They don't want to do day and date. So those live service games, if they're just free, they're free. They wouldn't be on PlayStation Plus. They would just be free to play. Let's see. What you guys saying? They've abandoned it, Gambit, and PvP, dead now because of the new game. And they're king of abandonment. You're talking about Bungie. I mean, everyone that worked on Destiny 2 has now moved over to Anthem, the major guys. Right? They want that thing to come out. And that's another one, right? So that's another live service game that's coming out. So there you go. We know Helldivers 2 potentially could be a live service game. Then you have Marathon, which is a live service game. You'll look at it, though, like, what is a live service game? You know, you cannibalize themselves, because if you come out with Helldivers, it's a shooter, right? It's a co-op shooter. Then there's Marathon, which is a competitive, you know, it's a 3v3 game. Is that what Marathon is? Or 4v4v4, something like that? Right? So that's the second game. Like, are all their games going to be shooters? Are they going to be something more than that? Yes, but at the moment they release the first live service game on the timer, they will drop the second one and assume that it would hope the players abandon the first one and hop onto the second one, right? No, not per se. You would like, at least in my eyes, if I ran a business like this, Silent Warrior, I would make a game that you put out there and you're like, okay, what is our percentage of people that play, right? Now, obviously, they're going to pick a lot of shooting games because they want to make up for Call of Duty. Call of Duty's still there. People still play Call of Duty, but they also want to make that back on these other games. So they look at it and go, well, how many people are interested in first-person shooter games? How many people are playing third-person shooter games? How many people like these types of games, right? Competitive games. So then they take a section and they go, all right, well, let's put this out there. See how many people engage with it. Someone might not like a third-person game. Maybe they don't like a looter. Maybe they like a more competitive game like Marathon. So maybe Helldivers comes out and they're like, oh, I'll give it a shot because it's guns. But they're like, it's not for me. Then the Marathon comes out and they're like, oh, that's for me, right? And they like playing Marathon. And then other people are looking for that, maybe that Conan experience where it's like an open world like Ark or Conan or Dune that's supposed to be coming out, right? That's the way they're supposed to do it. Right? You just don't put out the same type of game and go, oh, they're going to go from this to this to this to this. Look at the way Game Pass does. Game Pass puts a game out there and it's a open world space adventure RPG. And then they put a racing game out there. Then they have a pirate game out there. Then they have a Minecraft out there. There's many different games out there because you're trying to grasp for as many different gamers as possible to come out. You don't need, at least in Game Pass's form, you don't need 1 million people playing this game. You need 1 million people spread across all these games to be successful, right? And that's the way I would assume PlayStation does the exact same thing. You don't need 5 million people to play this one game. You need 5 million people across all the 10 games that you're coming out with over the next couple of years. If you just do a niche part of the community, then you're not going to make it. You got to make as many games as possible. I'm pretty sure Marathon's going to be like Tarkov. Yeah, but can't you be... I could have sworn in the small thing that we saw there's 3 teams of 3 up to, right? I guess you could go in solo and whatnot. But yeah, it's definitely like a Tarkov type of game. I love for Sony to bring a MAG or SOCOM, but good, though, not to POS, a good game they'll try at. Right. I just hope, boss, and I'm not saying Sony's all their production value will go down in their first party titles. I just afraid that the industry itself, I mean, look at Payday. We'll talk about Payday in a second, right? People like to rush games out. And Sony, I guess like what Mo said, is a little bit behind to the party. They're not totally late to the party, but they're a little behind on the party. And they're trying to rush these live service games out, right? And again, if you're working on a game for 12 months or 18 months and then releasing it, is that quality going to be that good? But then again, does it matter? And I guess if it comes out, let's say their live service games comes out and they kind of like what's happening at Game Pass, then I guess we have our answer, right? Oh, for sure. For sure. I'm just saying that they're rushing these games out. When games are rushed 12, 18 months, they come out and they're incomplete and broke. And I don't know if Sony wants to do that, because then if those come out and they're kind of rushed and they're not good and they kind of have to get fixed over time, then Sony kind of ruins their reputation, right? Now, obviously, that's a live service aspect, but the first party games now, once they come out, if they're still good, and they're like, okay, we still got our first party games over here on Sony, but the live service games are a little rough right now. Didn't Sony get hacked yesterday? Yes, they did. Yeah. Better late than never. Mass Effect is far superior story than Skyrim. Oh, for sure. Mass Effect is superior more to most, like, television series with Mass Effect story. I hope they don't rush them. I hope they low-key, silently been working on these rushed games. I don't know, because they weren't... Usually when someone announces a game, right, boss? When someone announces a game, like if we see a trailer for a game at E3, they probably been working on it for like 6 to 8 months, right? When they announce something, you're like, oh, they've already been working on this for at least 8 months. And then we see it 2 years later. So by the time they announced it to when it comes out, it's been like 2-3 years. So hopefully, you're right. Hopefully they were already working on these things. But I don't think they started working on this live service aspect until Microsoft made that drop in the bucket when they said we want to purchase Activision. They're like, oh. They're like, oh. We might be losing Call of Duty. We got to make some plans, right? I think that's when they went into overdrive, and they're like, we got to have a backup plan here. Hell, sometimes they aren't rushed. They're just still broken, buggy. Well, yeah, because they're rushed. I like to think Sony knows better than to rush unfinished pieces of shit. But that's their first party titles. You see what I'm saying? That's their core. That their third person, first party action adventure games. That's their bread and butter, man. They have that template down. They're just like, insert IP into this. Here's why I don't want to get. Would anyone put their credit card on a site just to use a PlayStation cards? A lot of people I know get gift cards and stuff like that and then use that stuff. The delayed factions, so should be assumed that they're rushed. How successful to define those games will be interesting. Good games can be financial flops. LS games are tough, or live service games or games are tough to hit on. Yeah, that's what they said in the article. They said that all games are going to be a hit, right? And to be fair, they were going to launch that Last of Us game until they purchased Bungie, and then Bungie took a look at it and said, Yeah, let's not do that. Or maybe they delayed it because they didn't have enough microtransactions or they couldn't figure out a way to monetize it good. And then Bungie came in because they paid $3.2 billion for them. And they're like, hey, can you look at this game? And they're like, yeah, it looks good, but you need to monetize it a little bit better. They'll come out fine. I'm sure some will be a miss, like Jim Ryan said, but all games are not for everybody. Sure, but I don't think the games for everybody is a hit or miss. I just hope the quality of their live service games comes out is as good as their first party titles. That's all I'm saying. And I'm not saying they're going to come out and they're all going to be broken buggy. But you can't stand here and say that what Microsoft does and then Sony does the same thing and now it's okay that Sony does it, right? So like Microsoft works on stuff and you're like, oh, well, it's hands off. You know, they don't put enough time in. And then Xbox rushes people. And then that's why it's bad. And then when Sony does, they're like, Sony's not going to do that. It's like, it's the industry. The industry comes out and that happens. If you move a certain amount of money and percentage of stuff over here to move it over here, something's going to change. I don't feel like Sony's going to rush. I mean, they haven't done live service games. So they'll be learning as they go. Their entire brand and image is putting the time and passion into their games. Okay, great. So you're saying that the games that are coming out that are live service that they just announced 6 months ago, that they're going to take their time with a game that usually takes 3 to 5 years now to make a video game, but yet they're releasing first live service games. Okay, they're releasing 12 games in 3 years. So the games that come out in 2026 have been worked out for 3 years, but the games coming out next year haven't been worked on for 3 years. I mean, I'm sure we can look it up. Let's see. Arrowhead began work on Helldivers 2 in 2016, and the game became their first AAA production following the release of several smaller budget titles. The studio eventually grew from 35 employees at the beginning of developers to over 100 by the time the game was officially revealed. So now you're telling me that this game has been worked on for 7 years, right? 7 years. 16, 17, 18, 19, well, actually, yeah, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. 9 years. Helldivers has been worked on for 9 years. Man, I hope that thing comes out and it is perfect. 9 years. So this thing should come out super flush for $40. Super flush for $40. I'm surprised it's $40. I'll be honest with you. Kind of puts me off a little bit. It's like, what's wrong with it? That's what I'm saying, Embu. 12 games in 3 years doesn't fill me with confidence. Yeah, but Mo, I'm saying it from a gamer, right? I'm not looking at it as a Xbox guy, Nintendo guy looking into Sony. I'm looking at it in gaming industry as a whole, right? Fundamentally, it doesn't work to get those games out like that. I mean, that's what it says. It's on the internet, Robert Jones. So I don't know if it's true or not. It says Arrowhead began work in Helldivers 2 in 2016, and the game became their first AAA production following the release of several smaller budget titles. The studio eventually grew from 35 employees to begin the development over the 100 by the time the game was revealed, which was just a couple months ago. It has to be 40 or so that they can move units, and they say it's just $40. I'll try it. Right. You just made me laugh out loud at work. What's wrong with $40? What's problem with $40? Nothing's wrong with $40. But this is the example I give you with the water, right, Z? When a brand new game comes out, if I give you this glass of water, which is just regular water, okay, and I'm like, I'll give it to you for $1. Some people look at this water and go, what's wrong with it? Right? And then right next to this water is the exact same water in the exact same glass, and it says $10. And everyone's like, I'm going to drink the $10 water because they're going to assume that something is wrong with the dollar water. You see what I'm saying? It's just how people react to something. So the problem is when you look at a game, and even as a gamer, when you look at a game and go $70, and then you buy a game like Battlefield 2042, and you're like, is there a $70 worth of content in this? And you have to wait 18 months to get it fixed. And then you look at a game like $40, and you're like, oh, it's a fun game, but it's short. Usually when you have a $40 game, it's small. There's not a lot of content in there. Okay. So I'm not saying it's going to be a bad game in any way, shape, or form. I'm just looking at it going, $40. Why is it $40? Too much marketing for a $1? For $1 and done $40 game? Wasn't Starship Troopers only 30? Was something wrong with it? Yeah, it's incomplete, Travis. So, point proven. Thank you very much. All right, Starship Troopers is $30. It's an early access. It's incomplete. They're still adding game modes to it for the next year before it comes to consoles. So I really appreciate you proving my point. So I guess $30 is incomplete, but $40 is complete. Vampire Survivors is a few dollars. Is something wrong with it? You're not making the same. You're taking something. Well, I paid 99 cents for this game on my mobile phone. Vampire Survivors is free on my mobile phone. You're not making any sense there, Titan. I'm not saying something's wrong with Helldivers 2. What I'm saying is, if something's $40, you're like, what's wrong with it? Is it a short game? Does it have a full story mode? How many features does it have? How many hours is the game? Is it 8 hours? Is it 10 hours? But didn't you yourself say every game, even 65, you're basically just paying for early access now? No, you're taking it out of context. When games are in early access, if it doesn't matter if it's an alpha, beta, early access, preview program, or gold now, you can't tell if a game's released because games are all live service games or always online, and they're always making fixes to that game. Case in point, you brought up Starship Troopers. Starship Troopers is a $30 game, and it's going to be worked on for the next 2 years before it launches, right? Cyberpunk was a full-fledged game and worked on for 2 years, and now it's actually a complete game from what it was in the beginning. I'm not even talking about the DLC. I'm talking about the Cyberpunk 2.0 now fixed the game what it was supposed to be when it launched, right? Fallout 76, where it came out and it was broken, buggy, and 5 years later, now it's a better game. Battlefield 5, when it came out, it was an incomplete game, and now it's a better game. Battlefield 2042, when it came out, there's game after game after game after game after game. In my experience, most cheaper games are better than $60 ones. But that's because of the value of money, what you're getting into the game. If you pay, and this is why People don't give a crap when a game comes out on Game Pass because they paid $10, okay? And then they played a game like Fallout 76 or they play a game like No Man's Sky and they didn't pay the full price. They didn't pay the $70. So at $10 price point, they look at the game and go, man, this is an amazing game for the price value. Of course, you're going to find better value for lower pieces of games if you can get for a cheaper game. You guys are taking one aspect of it. I'm saying $40, and you look at a $40 game, you're like, what's wrong with it? Right? Because we're used to paying $70 for all this stuff. Helldivers is probably $40 because it's one of their first cracks at this. They plan to build on it, so you aren't asking for a full-fledged price, and it's probably looked to make $30 DLC add-on. That's what I said earlier, boss. I said they probably are putting it at $40, so people are looking into it, and they'll make their money back off of microtransactions if it's a live service, is what I said. Your campaign means nothing to me because I don't know it. I'm giving you examples of what Mass Effect is referencing on sci-fi. I'm also deeper explanation of how of the Skyrim because of that. You're having a conversation with Travis. Okay. AAA publisher who knows for releasing their games at $70, and then when they decide to release it, there's a new one at $40. You're going to ask questions. It's breaking the pattern. Exactly, Nboo. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying Helldivers 2, watch out, it's $40. There's something wrong with it. I'm looking at it going, $40? Why is it $40? Is it a short campaign? Is there's going to be extra content at the end? Like what? Right? We really know nothing about the game as of right now. Ron Schlusher says Redfall ain't getting fixed. Rob, but perfect example, right? Someone comes in and says, I played Redfall. I had a fine time with it. Yeah, because you didn't pay $70 for it. And if you did, that's a problem. That's a problem on many levels, right? It's a problem because they know they can sell you crap like that, and people will pay for it. But if they didn't pay for it, you're like, oh yeah, I got my money's worth out of it. That's not how Sony rolls, Mike. Sony makes nothing but quality. So why should you think any different? Because as an industry, I know what you're doing, Mo, but in the industry, game companies are game companies. Hell, let's go over to this. Right? Payday 3. Launch has gone so badly that Starbreeze says it's now looking into possibilities of some sort of offline mode. I mean, you can't make this shit up. You can't make this shit up. Right? So I'm not coming at it as Sony bad. Right? I'm coming at it as a gamer looking at it going, what's the problem? Cheaper games are usually more polished. Okay. I can point out a lot of games that are not polished. And usually cheaper games, Jones, that you're talking about, like if Titan brings up Vampire Survivor. I mean, that's not going through the same rigorous development cycle as a game like Cyberpunk or Battlefront, you know what I mean? Or Battlefield. Excuse me. And so again, I ask, do they make gamers or don't they? Do they make gamers? What did you ask? So does Sony does not have any make any games? So which is it? Weaker paper shield. I mean, I'm not defending any company. I'm coming from it as a gamer looking at games that come out and they could potentially be broken, buggy when they come out because that's the way the industry is going. I'm not familiar with Helldivers devs past game. They're all at full price, $60. I don't know, Titan. I don't know. They don't have anything in the pipeline or the roadmap besides Spider-Man. Travis says they make good quality games. Just because you don't like it, Mo, doesn't mean it's not true. Same formula can be applied to double A and indie devs. If an indie dev is known for selling their games for $10, then they decided to sell the next one for 30. You're just going to ask you're going to ask questions. I'm asking for a question of $40. Is it a short game, right? Because we're used to the quality of games, and that's a joke now, right? The quality of a $70 game or a $100 game, the quality of it, right? And then you get games like we've seen in the past. Insert game here. Live service games are so risky. Look at how many live service games have been shut down over the past year. Right. And the article that we just read, Ron, Jim Ryan says not all 12 games are going to be successful. He says we don't know which ones are going to be successful. He says that, this one might be and this one might not, right? Look, when you go into a business, you're going to have a budget for what your games are. And I said this in the very beginning. If they have a $20 million budget for a game and it comes out and it makes $100 million, that's a huge win for that $20 million budget. But if you make a $100 million game, it's a live service game, and it only makes $110 million, that's not a good success story, right? I would assume that Sony is testing the waters out. I would assume that they're going to make a game that's like 10 million, 20 million production, $100 million production, right? And they're going to try to make as many of these games as possible. They're going to probably pay exclusives for a third party to come in to make a game for them to put on PlayStation, right? And test out the waters. Which one works, which one doesn't. I mean, that's what they're going to have to do. They probably would rather have it be free, play live service, but you got to go recoup that 7 years of dev time. Right. I mean, for instance, this is 9 years. They started in 2016 for Helldivers 2, and I'm not picking on Helldivers 2. We're just using it as an example. I didn't know it took 9 years for development. Let's look at other games that were 9 years in development and see if they're out yet. Star Citizen, been in production for 10 years. It's never coming out. Okay. Anthem was in production for 7 years. Okay. And then that bombed. Skull and Bones has been in production for how many years? Okay. So much so we've heard that it's rebooted 4 times. It was going to be $70, and they said it was going to be $30. Then they said it was going to be, right? So we don't know about Skull and Bones. Then you have another game. What's the other one? Beyond Good and Evil. It's been 15 years in development. Okay. So, No Man's Sky was in production for 6-7 years before it came out. Right? A lot of people don't realize that was a PlayStation game. Okay. When it came out, that was a PlayStation game. Okay. And it came out broken, buggy. So everyone's like, oh, PlayStation makes quality games. I understand it was Hello Games, but PlayStation backed Hello Games to make that game. And the game came out, it was broke, buggy, unfinished, incomplete. And now here we are 7 years later. No Man's Sky is an awesome game. Everyone talks about it as the success story in the business. KOTOR remake is unknown state as far as the public knows. I agree. I think so. Will 30 was just curious. Let's see. Battlefront 3. I think Battlefront 3. There was talks that Battlefront 3 was 80% complete. I think they canceled it because of what happened to Star Wars brand, and I think it's just sitting somewhere. And I think they're going to revive it. I do. You guys hear that Titanfall 2 is now playable, and they've been getting DDoSed for years. I have a theory that the Titanfall DOSers switched to Destiny 2. Good theory. And they just released an update on Titanfall 2, and it's fixed now, right? If live service games can survive a year, usually it's here to stay with the big boys like Fortnite, Apex, Warzone, Counter-Strike, Destiny, etc. Too high. Well, you're also looking at a lot of games that were out besides Warzone. That's Call of Duty, right? Apex is, you can look at Apex, but all the rest of them, I mean, Fortnite, we look at Fortnite. Fortnite bombed. Fortnite was a disaster. Fortnite's not what Fortnite is now. Fortnite was Save the World. And nothing could save the world for Fortnite except when they switched Fortnite to Battle Royale. Right? If you look at Fortnite as the save the world, that game is non-existent. And they worked on that game for 7 years. 7 or 8 years they worked on Fortnite, the Save the World edition. You know how long they worked on Fortnite, the Battle Royale? 3 months. 3 months. And they got that shit going. Chris says, if it's so funny that it's assumed that the games will be exclusive, I know that Marathon won't be. But PlayStation fans love their exclusives and will also want them to be, even if it be better for games to go on PC and Xbox. Well, I never said that they would be exclusive. I never said they would be exclusive. I don't know if you're saying that people think that the 12 games are coming out that are going to be exclusive. No, they just want 12 live service games that they can make money off of. I think it'd be stupid if they make it exclusive, especially if you make a live service game. You want as many people to buy it as possible. Right. Fortnite BR saved the world. Yeah, exactly. Those games are going to be exclusive to PlayStation and PC. I mean, Helldivers, that one game is for PC and PlayStation. You're correct. I don't know about the other 11 games. Marathon is not going... They've already said that Marathon's going to be all consoles, all platforms. See, I liked Save the World, Jones. I liked Save the World. I thought they had so much potential to do so many things with that game. I still think they're going to go... I still think Fortnite's working on a... I've said this for 5 years, 6 years. I think they're working on an MMO, and Lono said the exact same thing. They're working on something. Yeah, Galactic Conquest needs to be in the next Battlefront, regardless. All right, so let's read this this one right here. Payday 3 launches has gone so badly that Starbreeze says it's now looking into possibility of some sort of offline mode. Okay, honestly, I don't even know what happened. I'm reading this article for the very first time. The launch of the heist shooter Payday 3 last week has not gone well. The server's problem has frustrated players, and the game's always online requirement means that even people who want to play solo are having trouble getting into a game. Oof. The net results is disastrous. Most negatively, user rating on Steam is at 68%, and nearly 25,000 users' reviews are now thumbs down. So developer Starbreeze has issued a statement in the situation saying that Payday 3's matchmaking software ran into an unforeseen error and which left unable to handle the large number of players trying to get into the game. Making matters worse, a new version of matchmaking software has rolled out over the weekend, seemed to improve the situation until software update made on Sunday by Starbreeze's third-party matchmaking partner caused a new instability in the server infrastructure. It says, quote, "We were disappointed in the issue and the player base has faced during our launch weekend, but it's also confident in our work product that the quality of Payday 3 and the availability metric point to it." Starbreeze CEO said that we have a lot of the diligence, consistent work ahead of us and regain community's trust, but we will work hard to do it. Now, the one potential upside to the mess is that it could mean that Payday 3 ends up with a proper offline mode or single-player action. Starbreeze said that it is now looking for a new matchmaking service partner for Payday 3 and also making the game less dependent on online service. Okay? So he affirmed that. Payday 3 is the latest game and demonstrate that require a persistent online connection for single player is never a good idea. Microsoft figured out a decade ago with Xbox One, and Bethesda got the message earlier this year with Redfall. It's a irritated as a matter iterate as a matter of principle, but it's also serious negative practical consequences too. Starbreeze will no doubt get these problems fixed, but eventually, and this is also always online mandate is dropped, so much the better. So for now, it looks like the gamers eager to jump into Payday 3 could be facing a rough ride for a while and try to log into today and see how things are going. But 3 attempts to start a solo game by creating an invite-only game. Let's do this. So they're having massive issues. Now, I don't know the quality of the actual game. I didn't play it myself. But an online-only for a single-player game. Bold move, Cotton, right? I don't know why companies do this, right? I don't know why companies do this, but they do. Nothing wrong for paying for Gamesmo, but that's a Game Pass mentality. I mean, let's look at this, right? Let's look at this in this example after you said what you said, Rose, right? People that paid full price for this game, they're pissed, right? Can't get in, can't play, right? They're just like, I just want to play with my buds and I can't play because of online service problems, right? And now people that played it on Game Pass, they're like, I'll just play it later, right? Me personally, if I did play this and paid for it, one, I would get my money back because I'm tired of playing for games and not being able to play it day one. And then two, if I didn't play it, I wouldn't. If I didn't pay for it and it was on Game Pass, I probably wouldn't give them a shot, even if it is on Game Pass, because I'm just like, first impressions are everything, right? You can pay. You can play Payday single player offline. I'm sure you could think of a few reasons why companies do this with multiplayer games that is a single player option. I mean, if you have a single player option, I mean, we went through this with Marvel's Avengers. We went through this with Marvel's Avengers. And now they ruined the single player, right? If I want to play by myself now with Marvel's Avengers, okay, when they changed it, I can't do I forget what those bases were, the Hive, right? I can't do the Hive now with a group of my characters. Now I go in solo instead of with my NPC friends. It's like there's always something, right? I don't play Payday and don't plan on playing it, but I definitely refund it. Yeah, and this is the take that I have. Okay, some of you guys think that I'm a fan of Xbox. That's just the console I have. That's the console I chose to play because of where my friends were. Okay, because I don't have a PlayStation 5, you think I hate Sony, right? And I am not that way. Okay, I don't care about a plastic box. Okay, I care about the industry and I care about how customers are treated, and I care about how the industry is being portrayed by people that make games and they come out and they're broke, buggy, incomplete, try to microtransact you, try to nickel and dime you for everything you have, they give you an excuse here and there, and that's just not the way I run, right? I guess the devs wanted the Payday, right? Like you put this out there, like if you have a game, I would assume that you would do everything in your power, right? Day one to be like, you know what? We got to make sure this is smooth. Say what you want about Diablo 4, but Diablo 4 had one of the smoothest launches for an online game that I've seen in a very long time, right? But they don't get a round of applause from me because that's what it should be. Right? They had their problems, but it was pretty goddamn smooth considering how many people were playing that game. I'm still pissed so many years later when PlayStation Network was down for days and I tried to play Dragon Age Inquisitions and it wouldn't and I couldn't. Was that in 2011 from the last hack, Jones? I care about my plastic boxes. I have an alternate which one sleeps in bed with me, or the console will start getting jealous. Bait says, yeah, you think less expensive or online exclusive games? I'll pay for first party Sony quality all day, every day. D4 had those server jams work good. They work better than any other. When you try to get online, what was another game that you try to get online, you couldn't get online for weeks, right? Diablo had little problems, the very few, and you got in, right? I didn't say it was flawless. I just said it was the smoothest I've seen in a very long time. Right? 10 million people. 10 million people got the game. We're all trying to run into a straw. But really, though, why do you think Payday 3 doesn't have an offline mode? I don't know. I wouldn't even know why. Because unless there is there microtransactions in the game, Fate? If there's microtransactions and they have a plan to do like battle passes and season passes and stuff like that for Payday, then that's why. That's the only reason why. Yeah, but the people that played the launch before weren't 10 million people. I think it was like 2 million people, right? That's $8 million influx from when they tested the servers for the server slam test to when the game launched. No microtransactions. I don't know why then. I don't know why they would have it. Chris says $70 games and releases like this are why people only buy 2 or 3 games per year, and they'll get lower. People are going to wait before the guy to know the game isn't a buggy mess and will pass on these. The average person back in the day still bought 2 to 3 games per year. That's always been the average. The average has always been 2 to 3 games. That's not going to change. Every time, though, I'll tell you what, though. Every time a game comes out that's like this, has problems, not working, whatever, insert game here, drives somebody else to go to Game Pass or go to a streaming service because they're like, I'll just wait. I don't need that game day one. There's so many independent games that you can go play in the time that you're waiting for this game. Like, people just sit there for hours just to push A to get in to see because we want to play that newest, latest, greatest thing, right? The more it happens, right? And you got to remember, we're older gamers. Most of you in this chat are probably, over the age of 30, right? How fast does your son or daughter get bored when something doesn't work? And how fast do they go, and they move on? Microtransactions are coming. Payday 2 had them. It will be, because there will be 30. Payday 2, it didn't have microtransactions at launch. It sure shit does now. There you go. And that's why they have them. Titan says online only means more engagement, more data collected, if I'm not wrong. Well, data collected, but if you have a single-player game, like, why do you need that data? If it's a single-player game, then your only data that you need to have is purchased. Right? That's it. Purchased or played. But if you have a game that has some sort of, how many people are buying microtransactions? We put this skin in here, and it had the color blue and purple on it, and 10 million people bought it. Maybe we have to put other things that are this style, right? That's why you have microtransactions, and that's why you have online access. Not believable. Able to play day one because of server issues for online only. 100% gets people asking for refunds. Payday 3, and look, I'm telling you, every time a game like this comes out and it's $70, but it's also day and date on Game Pass, right? Some people look at it and go, well, Payday 3 that's a third-party game. That's not an Xbox game. And they put it on there. So they already got paid by Xbox. Okay, Microsoft gave them a fat little cash. There you go, Payday 3. There you go, Game Pass. And then they come out and they go, oh, man, right? We could assume right? Not saying it happens all the time, but we can assume that Payday 3 already made its money back based on the Game Pass day and date alone. So right now they're like, no one's playing our game, but here we are. We can make our next game. Simple fact, the only way to get rid of microtransactions is people quit buying them. Yeah, it'll never happen. It'll never happen, Travis. And the game industry can be depressing sometimes. Twisted, and this is why I've tried to become less skewed, right? But man, it's hard every day, right? Every day a game comes out, and I love games, right? I'm having fun with Starship Troopers, but I knew what I was getting into. $30. I was like, okay, it's $30, meaning I'm getting it for a discounted rate because it's an alpha, right? Or early access, and I'm doing it. I'll buy games at early access knowing that there's bugs and glitches because it's at a cheaper price, okay? But when you pay for a full price game and it comes out and it feels like it's an alpha or a beta or incomplete or buggy, or you know what I'm saying? That's when I have an issue. If Cyberpunk came out and said, look, we're going to be buggy and glitchy, I'm like, I'll give you $25, $30. They're like, okay. But they're like, no, full price. And you're like, okay. And then problems, right? Battlefield 2042 came out and said, well, if you help us test it out, we'll sell it to you for $20. I'll be like, all right, cool. And then they go, full price, $70, $125. And then it's broke, buggy, 18 months later. No. Okay. BattleBit, right? I paid, was it 15 or 20? I think I got it on sale for 20 or 15. Okay. I know what it is. I'm like, it's small developers. It's a small game. This is what it is. I'm looking for fun. $15. There you go. Okay. If there's bugs and I'm like, it was a $15 game. It was a $20 game. There's a certain criteria to hit when you have a game that's at $70 and it comes out and it's broken buggy. There's a certain standard for a $40 game that comes out and it's broken buggy. Twisted Logic said, I'm heavily burnt by Diablo 4 was not what I expected it to be. See, that when that happens, that's when you cross on my side of the territory, Twisted. Right? Like, you're excited about games, you do games, and all of a sudden you buy a game, and then all of a sudden it smacks you in the face, and then you're like, man, I don't know if I'll ever buy a pre-order a game again. I don't know if I'm ever going to get a game early again because of what it is, right? Because you paid full price, you want to play the game, and then you get to play it 18 months from now when they fix it. So it's like, why did I pay my hard-earned money up front when I can just wait for it now and then play it later when it's fixed? They want the data for use of future games and counters. See what players are doing, what exploits, what they can improve. But that's fundamentally broke, isn't it, Robert? Right? If you made a game right now, we're like, all right, let's make a first-person shooter game. There's plenty of other first-person shooter games out there to know what's good and bad. And if we make our game like the good one, to put more good stuff in, do we really need to know the data? If you just, again, this is my statement, make a game. Make a game, sell a game. Pete Walker says, are there any games out there that allow offline mode with crossplay with other platforms? I don't know that answer, Fate. I don't know. The world will always have young people that don't appreciate the value of hard-earned dollar. Hence, micros will never die. Exactly right, Crowded. Eclipse says, you're lying. No way. 30-year-old man in this chat room. They're talking console wars. What I'm thinking, to more or less, plus show off the investors. Sure. Sony's first-party games are solid. Oh, yeah. I'm not going to tell you any otherwise. Sony's first-party titles, the third-person, over-the-shoulder adventure games are solid, man. Right? Last of Us, right? Uncharted. What's it called? Hell, even Gran Turismo. They're solid. microtransactions with them, but quality-wise, right? Right? Horizon, God of War, right? They're all good games. D4 definitely burnt a lot of people. I got burnt by Division 1. Right? I got burnt by Destiny. I was like, why am I paying this and you're going to take stuff away from me? Why am I going to pay for this and then you're not going to deliver it to me? For live stream yesterday, offline play is on the table, but not being looked at. Urgency potentially used as, does it look like it's in the code? I don't know. Yep, that's like bull in a China. A bull in China. Closet levels broke. Yes and no, 30. You can know something is good, but no idea why. You know something's good, but you don't know why. No, but what I'm saying, Jones, from a fundamental level, if we're making a video game, right? Like if we make a Minecraft game, or if we make a first-person shooter game, you look at the other games out there, you're like, all right, what's the best first-person shooter out there? And then we try to make it as duplicated as best as possible, and we're like, I think we did it, right? Like, as a developer, if your game feels like the other game. It's very simple to do. You play your game, and you go over to the other game and go, yeah, it feels like it, right? You know what it feels like. Is there a live service game without microtransactions? Well, those were called MMOs back in the day. The live service games that you paid a monthly fee that didn't have microtransactions, you just paid to play the game to keep up the server. That was a live service game, and it had no microtransactions. But that's completely changed. I love Uncharted, but not sure I want a fifth game. Who are you going to play? The daughter? Maybe. They could reboot it. They could reboot it, Dave. They could reboot it with a completely different, like they did with Tomb Raider. Oh, there you go. No Man's Sky. No Man's Sky is a live service. You are absolutely correct. Right? No Man's Sky is a live service game with no microtransactions. You are 100% correct. No Man's Sky is an anomaly. You're absolutely right about that, Titan. But he asked the question, is there a live service game that has no microtransactions? And there it is. You don't have to pay for game day one. You can't wait until the early reviews come out to watch gameplay after the game releases before paying full price. I've said that all the time, El. Like, it's easier now to not buy a game and get all the information. When I was a kid, I remember distinctly, like, when I wanted Bases Loaded, right? Bases Loaded was a baseball game, okay? Bases Loaded was a baseball game that came out, and the only way I got information from it was looking at Nintendo Power, okay? Or a game that came out, and it was like a paragraph with a couple of pictures, and you looked at that, and you just fantasized about getting that game, whatever that game was. If it was like the new Mario or the Metroid, okay? And that was it. There was no other outlets that I could see gameplay. There was no website to go to like watch someone play the game. There wasn't like someone, what I'm doing now, talking about the video game. It was literally just an article this big, maybe a full page, one page, okay, talking about the game that you were interested in, and then waiting for it to come out. And then when it came out, you would buy it. Okay. Now people buy more broken, unfinished games day one than ever before, which is insane to me, because the reason The reason the video game industry collapsed and Nintendo saved it is because of shitty quality games. Okay? Unfinished, broken, buggy, unfinished games. The quality went down. And yet here we are in a world where the quality of video games is going down. Now, I'm not saying all games are going down. Obviously, there's games that come out, they're just, this is the best time ever to be playing video games, right? There's so many good games that have come out over this year, over the last decade. But the majority of video games that come out now are broke, buggy, incomplete, unfinished. This is the same thing that happened back in the late 70s, early 80s. And why did Nintendo succeed? Because they made good quality stuff. I still have nightmares guaranteed we played more misses than hits. Travis, you were born in 90, weren't you? Then 95. I mean, by that time, I guess the internet came in 97. Yeah. All right. You could claim it. You could claim it. Heck, Horizon's one of my favorite series. Love Last of Us 2. You were lucky a full page. Most times a picture of a couple of paragraphs. That's it. That was it. There were so many games on Atari. That's why Atari went under. Well, that's a microtransaction, but you don't need that to play. Let me say what I'm saying. They do have a microtransaction, but does that clarify it as a microtransaction-filled game? Because you unlock all the stuff in that game, like everything in that game you unlock, except if you want to support the developers with that extra pack, right? I mean, yeah, it's a microtransaction, but does BattleBit have microtransactions? They don't have a story in the game, right? Well, it's a live service, but what I'm saying is they're not coming out with other packs after pack after pack after pack. It's literally a small developer. I don't know. I mean, you're right. It is a microtransaction, and it is a live service. So I guess it doesn't qualify. So you are correct. Atari box art was insane. Oh yeah, it was like the old movie posters. They were fantastic. 100% Atari artwork sold the game. Like, look at these. Look at some of these. Right? You look at some of these, and you were just like look at Defender, right? Look at Defender, right? That's not what the game looks like. Right? It looks like an 80s television show. And you're like, oh my god, that looks amazing. It's not what the game looks like. Like, look at some of these. Look at Warlords. Warlords was just two like things just like fighting each other. Look at Diablo. I mean, Pitfall's like actually legit. Like that's what it was. That's what Pitfall was. I mean, it's less cartoony, but that's it. $20 for Pitfall. Wow. Helldiver's only $20 more than Pitfall. Pitfalls as much as a Fortnite microtransaction. Crazy. Like, I think they should do, look at this, right? I would have played Left 4 Dead 2. Obviously, this is not an actual Atari game. I would have 100 bought Left 4 Dead 2 just based on that that cover art. 100%. I would have been like, that game looks dope. I think if it's monetary, then yes, No Man's Sky is a live service without micros. Yeah, it is a live service. Yeah. It's okay for single-player games to have microtransactions like Spider-Man 2. Should the extra costumes be free to include with your purchase? I think what they should have done, and again, this is what I would have done, Ron. I'm okay with them selling the stuff if the people want it at the beginning of the game, right? Like, if you want to support the game or the developers or whatever, and you want to get that extra suits. But I think that if you didn't buy that, and then you put in all the time, let's say you complete all the stuff in the game, you can unlock those suits. I think that should also be a thing. Because basically you're buying it for early convenience. Right? But hey, it's a couple suits. Gotham Knights did the exact same thing, right? You earned all the suits in Gotham Knights except for the ones that they wanted for pre-order or early access. I'm looking at some of these covers. Take a look at the American Mega Man box art. Those things are terrible. Is that terrible looking? This right here. That looks terrible. Imagine going to the movies at the cinema and having to pay a microtransaction to see the ending. Well, that's not the same as what I just described with the suit. I mean, if it's included in the game. If you pre-order, you get it ahead of time. So if you want to play the game with the suit, then you would pay for it. But if you just play the game and then do the activities and stuff to unlock it, I don't see a problem with that. When are we gonna get a River Raid remake? Hopefully never. Is this what you want? You want this? They put bad art Mega Man in the fighting game. It was hilarious and disrespectful. I'll say it again, 30. I'll say it till I die. Smash TV reboot like Doom. I would like to play a Smash TV reboot. But do you change it from a twin stick shooter? I don't know if I want it like Doom. if you make it just like a cent, what was it called? A cent, right? Yeah. If you make it like a cent, just make it like that. It's all good, Jones. I know the data is way more important for MOBAs and online shooters, but I'm sure there are information that can be gleaned from a singular singular play data. Oh, for sure. Twin stick wouldn't attract casuals, sadly. I mean, did you ever play Ascent? Did you ever play the Ascent? I think it's called the Ascent, right? This game is gorgeous. They did such a good job with this game. If you guys haven't played this game, you can get it. I believe it's on. They did such a good job with this game. Hold on, let me just get the gameplay. I don't want to. I would go to my gameplay, but it's no longer on my channel, so. This game is awesome. Right? This game is fantastic. This is all Smash TV needs to be. Just a lot more players on the screen. This game was awesome. I love the way I love the way the board is. I love the way they just did everything. The way the background acts into the foreground. Fate says, I mean, technically movies are microtransactions. No. No, microtransaction. Well, I mean, technically everything in the world is a microtransaction, right? But I wouldn't consider a movie as a microtransaction because they are changing movie theaters, though, where if you sit in the middle of the theater, they're going to charge you more than up front. But you pay a one flat fee and go watch the movie. I never played the. I never played the DLC. I heard about this game just before it left Game Pass. I didn't get the chance to play it before it was taken off the service. Looks really good. It's really good, Chris. It's a really good game. Did they take it off? They took it off Game Pass? I'll trust you. I don't want to turn my Xbox on. It was fantastic. What? That's my favorite. Yeah, I think AMC. Not sure if it's AMC. I read an article that they're going to charge for where you sit in the theater is going to be more expensive. Let me see. Yeah, AMC. This is back in February. AMC Theaters is changing the way it charges for seats. America's largest movie chain announced that the prices of tickets will now be based on the seat location, meaning seats in the front will be cheaper, while more desirable seats in the middle will now cost more. Yeah, that was back in February. It's not happening everywhere yet. But it's happening in major cities. So like if you're in New York or something like that or California, they're already doing that. Technically, Lord of the Rings was a movie that required 3 separate DLCs to get the whole story. That's right. Right. And your car just needs 36 payments. And then you own the car. And same with the coffee that you bought. If you bought it through a credit card, that's also a microtransaction. And I think that idea will drive people back to the theater. I think what AMC is going to try to do is do more events. We're going to see how we talked about a couple weeks ago, Rose, about the Taylor Swift thing that she's doing in theaters. And AMC, if they make a lot of money from that, you're going to see a lot of artists or special event type stuff go there because, again, if they don't have to pay, hundreds of millions of dollars to get that movie in their theaters, right, and keep it in there where it's slow, and they can actually start to only put 2 days for this and 3 days for that and 1 day for this, they could make more money that way. It'd be a lot more hustle on the movie theaters part. Boss says AMC was my main theater until Cinemark got made over here. AMC prices are nearly the same as Cinemark, and Cinemark is way better in every way. Recliner seats, bigger screen. It's crazy. Go into an empty theater and move to the center. And then they'll come in and be like, ticket, please. Ticket, please. Son of a... No Man's Sky is pure exploration with a lot of crafting and resource farming. Starfield is a mission-based action RPG. Why? Who said they were the same? Oh, Farmer said, I see a lot of people comparing them and saying that No Man's Sky is better. Imagine taking a game that's been out for 7 years. 7 years. Okay? And comparing it to a game that just came out. When the game that came out, why don't you compare? If you're going to compare No Man's Sky to Starfield, then compare it correctly, right? And I'm not saying you, Farmer. I'm just saying the person on the internet, whoever said this, take No Man's Sky day one and take Starfield day one, and then tell me which game is better. Microtransactions is just another way to upsell people willing to pay more. Every business that can tries to do the same thing, sell the same car, 30,000, 45,000, a phone, 1,000 to 1,500. You could say seats on the outside of the center cost less, making going into the movies more affordable. Sure, but isn't that kind of stupid? Because the person that's sitting in the center, the only difference that they're getting is that they're more centered. Their seat is the same comfort as the one on the outside. They would have to include stuff, right? So, for instance, if I'm sitting in the dead center of the theater, then I should get popcorn and a drink. But if I sit on the outside, just get the seat, right? What about if I bring my own chair? Can I bring my own chair? Do I have to pay for anything then? What about if I sit on the floor? I don't even buy a ticket. Right? Is it $1 just to come into the theater? I'll just sit on the steps. Yeah, bring your own chair. Yeah. BYOC. That's it. That's genius. That's genius. You come up with a theater, and the whole theater's empty. The whole theater's empty. You take out all the recliners and whatnot, right? And then you charge people to come in, and they could just sit on the ground. Or you could bring your own chair. People bring like inflatable seats and couches. That actually might be good. No, not a drive-in theater. It would just be a regular theater. You just rip out the chairs, and it's just empty floor, just the tiers, but with no seats. Bring your own chair. Yeah, you bring those big inflatable ass things. Wheelchair seating, they get up front just like they always do. What's better, Gone with the Wind or Star Wars? I mean, All depends what type of movies you like. I'm sure someone thinks God with the Wind. Me, I think it's Star Wars. Yeah, bring a beanbag chair. You can bring it whatever you want. Bring your own chair. It's a flat rate. Flat rate. The most affordable movie. No chairs, no recliners. You just bring your own chair. You'll bring like blankets. $5. Just $5. Speaking of microtransactions, ordering food online from Starbucks or Dunkin' is a bit sketch. You can just buy what you want. You have to add money to your account, and then there's always leftovers. Bastards. It's way too easy to sneak food into theaters. Oh, well, people do that now. People do that right now. Yeah, my wife brings in a gigantic blanket when we go to the theater. Can you just imagine someone brings in an air mattress in this bring your own chair? Because people would. They bring in like a just a twin. So now you don't even have the people making noise with the bags anymore. Now you have people putting their air compressors on. They bring their own battery packs. So they can raise their. That would be terrible. That would be hilarious, though. Just all at once. Boss, you wouldn't even go to that theater. You wouldn't even go to that theater. I'd been that guy in the meme. I'd be the chair guy. It just pulls out the chair and just sits it. If I lay down during a Law movie, Travis, I'm sleeping. If I'm gonna do that, I'm gonna do that at home. Wait a minute, 30. I have an idea. All right, what's the idea, Fade? They have beds. Have you seen these? Have you seen the theaters with beds in them? Oh my god. Have you seen this? This is inside the theater. Hold on, let me see if this is. Like you see things like this, right? That's a theater. We do the bring your own chair and screen where you have a location based locked new release movies where you just open an empty warehouse, type dark room theater. As long as you're there, you can stream the movie to your device. I mean, at a point you don't even need theaters anymore, right? You could literally have, because the headsets are coming down in price. A little sanitational stuff. People don't like to put stuff on their faces, but the people that are, to have a different experience, you could literally have people come to your theater, which is a flat room. Everyone gets their own. You get a nice, comfy chair. You put the headset on, like a Oculus Rift type of thing, and then you just watch the movie there. Right, Sarge? Right? No one's watching the movie at this point. Look at this. Look at this one. Ridiculous. This is someone's house, isn't it? Like patio furniture inside the theater. This is okay. This is fine. This is not a bad idea. What the? Look at this one. Think about this. This is ridiculous because at the end of the movie, you got to have someone come in and literally strip the bed of sheets. But they have beds at Disney Springs now, Fate? Oh, the dining thing. Yeah. The dining thing there is, yeah. I was gonna say I don't remember them having this. This is fine too. I'm okay with something like this. I'm okay with something like this because this is nice because it like blocks the other sound around you and stuff. So you're like in your own little cubby hole. This wouldn't be good for families, obviously. A lot of space though, man. That's a lot of space missing out. That's true. That's true. You know how much they pay Usher? Those things are not getting stripped. They're just doing this with their broom. They're just gonna flush it out and that's it. Oh my god, that would be like, you know how much theaters like time frame would take waste if you have beds there? They have to strip the bed, put new sheets on it, and get it all crazy. All right, find the wild magic sorcerer. Imagine that black light would do. You would come and be like, "Oh, this is so pretty," and then a black light turns on, and you're like, "Oh, all right, we're leaving." they would like out that door as fast as possible. You would be horrified to be like, "Oh my god." That would be, oh god, that would be horrific. All right. On today's show, we talked about Battlefield 6, what should bring to Battlefield 6. We talked about Game Pass. They want to be at 8 billion revenue by 2030. We talked about PlayStation. Boss says that the story-driven games will remain the bedrock of Sony's first party games on top of the 12 live service games that are coming out in 3 years. And then we talked about a little bit about Payday 3, and then we started talking about other topics as well. If you guys like what we do here, we do it Monday through Thursday from 10 o'clock in the morning till noon Eastern. If you like it, please make sure you hit that like button. If you'd like to go above and beyond that, you can hit the subscribe button. And if you'd like to go above and beyond that, you can become a member as little as $5. We appreciate you very much for coming out and hanging out with us each and every single day, Monday through Thursday. We also do uploads. We also do Let's Plays Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday evenings. And then Thursday night, we do a podcast called Generation X Gaming, a weekly podcast that goes over a few of the top stories from the past week. We rant along the way. Appreciate it very much. And we'll see you tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern, for more Captain's Log, The Adventures of Jack Burton in Starfield. You guys have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you guys later. Peace.